The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Hey, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me and see my screen right here. My name is Kai, and I'm here to host for you today the PopcornFX Library 40 themed webinar. We're going to have a lot of fun with the PopcornFX Library 40 pack, content pack. You can find it in the content store. I have it on the screen right here. Lots of really cool stuff in there. So a lot of fun, and it's really easy to apply. So basically, we're just going to be talking about how you can really enhance your scene using this PopcornFX Library 40 pack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this the link for this in the description. This is kind of the theme, the focus of the webinar. I'm going to put it in the chat window. There's a chat window on your GoToWebinar panel there, and you can check it out on your own time, and all sorts of other fun stuff. Now, a couple things about the webinar, I guess, to start off the introduction here. We are going to be recording this webinar, so if you have any questions or if I go too fast for you at some point, we're going to be sending you a video link you can review on your own time. In addition to that, we're going to be sending you out a survey as well. So if you have any feedback or any questions or any suggestions for future webinars or future tutorials, we'd love to hear from you. So feel free to fill out that survey for us and send it back to us. And as an awesome reward, we'll give you a 10% discount in the content store. So a 10% discount coupon for the content store. All right, and we'll have a brief Q&A session at the end of this webinar as well. So if you have any questions, there's a questions section in the GoToWebinar panel there. Just stick your question in there, and I'll get to that at the end. Okay, so just kind of to go through the, I think that pretty much covers all the bases there. So to go through any of the, also we're going to have a project as well that we are going to be providing you at the end of this webinar. You can download that project by going to this page here. I'm going to put that in the chat window there as well. All right, and you can find the project down here. There's a download link. All right. Now, keep in mind that if you do not have the PopcornFX Library 40 content pack, when you load this project, you're going to see some watermarks on your screen. Okay, so, and I'm going to be going through a number of other different projects in this scene as well. If you're like really interested in the project that I'm using and you want to take it for a spin yourself, you can just email me and I'll send it to you privately. My email is kai@reallusion.com. That's KAI@reallusion.com. All right. I'll be more than happy to send those over to you there. Again, be aware of the potential of the dreaded watermark. All right, cool. So I think that's pretty much covers this. And this tab, I'll leave this tab open actually because I'm going to use this a little bit later on. But just kind of give you a kind of a lighthearted demo here of what you can expect when you're watching TV shows or your animations or you're creating projects without special effects. So this is kind of a funny video. I'll put this in the chat window there as well for you guys. Superheroes without special effects look super silly. This is a scene from The Flash, actually. It's filmed right here in Vancouver. And it looks kind of funny. I'll just show this to you here. I'm going to have to turn up the volume, actually. Unplug my headphones here. And I'll turn up the volume for you here.
Maybe car dampers is tougher than you think.
We're not going to win this today.
All right, so that's what it looks like without the special effects, right? And here's the post effects, the special effects, the wind and stuff, and the Flash doing his wavy arm thing, and so on and so forth. All right, so I thought it was kind of funny, just waving his arms around in a circle like that. So that's what you can expect when you don't have the popcorn effects. But with the popcorn effects, I'll show you a lot of the improvements that you can make along the way here. Okay, so I think we're just going to hop right into it. Just a little brief introduction for you there. This is the project that you can that you'll get when you download. Oh, that's a lot louder. Let me just turn down the volume there a little bit. Hope that's didn't blow your headphones there. So we kind of have this machine gun shooting at this big monster here, and yeah, it's pretty repetitive. That's basically it. So I'm going to be just kind of running through this project a little bit later on. Not exactly this project, but a very similar project. I'm going to be running through that. You can kind of explore it, deconstruct it on your own time, and we'll go from there. All right, so to start off, I'm just going to do something really simple. So we're just going to go ahead and start with this project here, this meadow project, because we're going to start with the nature theme. So I have about 4 different projects I want to run through for the nature theme. And if you have any questions, about specifics here, specific functions or parameters and stuff like that, feel free to ask me. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this webinar. This webinar is mostly just for showing. It's not really for kind of going in depth into the popcorn effects. We do have another webinar that I did a few weeks ago, and I can give you a link for that as well, actually. You just go into YouTube. You can type in probably iClone popcorn effects. Next webinar probably, and it'll pop up. Yeah, this is the one here. So I'll just pop that link into the chat window there as well for you. Okay, and you can check this one. This one has an introduction about 20 minutes long that kind of goes into more detail on the emitters, the specific emitters, the super tools, and how you can modify those to create your own effects. That one goes into a little more depth on that topic. But for this one, we're going to be basically just focusing on the PopcornFX Library 40. A couple of other things thrown in there as well, just for creative usage, just kind of trying to inspire in this webinar, I guess. So one important thing on this webpage I wanted to mention as well is down close to the middle here, there's a very important link, this PopcornFX Library 40 feature index, okay? So when you click this, it's going to open up a PDF. And in this PDF, let me just make that a little bit larger for you, since we don't have supersonic vision here, or supervision. Excuse me. So this PDF file is very important because it basically shows these quick tips on the right here, and that's basically describing to you how to use the popcorn effects. Because some of them you may, put them on your scene. You're like, how the heck do I use this thing? And now you have the quick tips here. There's also a couple tutorials that I've done as well, and you can ask me as well, or in the forums. So there's descriptions here on the right that kind of, give you a step-by-step, not really a step-by-step, but a summary of how to use all of these features. So I'll just, I don't really need to throw that into the link chat window, but I will anyways. I'm just inundating you with links in the chat window. Apologies for that. Anyways, okay, you can save the PDF obviously and review it on your own time. Okay, so let's close Google Chrome now. So the project they have on the screen right now is a super simple one. Okay, it's just that I just threw in a couple of trees. I threw in some grass. And if you guys ever want me to deconstruct any of these scenes, like how I created them, we can get to that at the end of the webinar. I'm just going to run through these projects though without too much deconstruction. So I've just thrown in this butterfly effect. So this is one of the nature effects. I'm just going to actually delete it for now. Well, let's play this back first. Let's make the dummy invisible and play this back. See, I have a dreamy HDR effect and the little butterflies floating around in the meadows. If you wanted to have like a peaceful kind of like I don't know, meadow scene for some reason with butterflies, you can do so. And this is like the easiest project that I basically have here. Just go to the Content tab, and let's actually just delete that butterfly one. Start off from scratch here. So Content tab, we're going to go over here to the Set tab and the main folder here, and Particles. And once you purchase the PopcornFX Library 40 pack, you'll find it right here. Tons of cool stuff in there. We're going to be using the Nature folder. I'm going to be showing you some creepy stuff later on and some other cool stuff. But the butterflies are right here. So we'll just double click the butterflies and press the W hotkey. And it looks like they appeared way over there, or the dummy appeared way over there. So basically, you want the dummy to be in the focal area of your scene, which in this case is like right here. So just kind of throw it right there. And of course, you can press Shift S to simulate. So there you go. A bunch of butterflies flying out of the dummy right there. Now, if you go to your PopcornFX tab over here, what I've done is I just added exposure bloom. Okay, so exposure bloom kind of makes them, if you wanted magical, like JR Lord of the Rings type butterflies, you could do that. Exposure bloom, or maybe like tone it down a little bit. Still a little bit of exposure bloom. But yeah, that's basically it. And I don't want to go into too much detail on the parameters here, but we have Emit Volume. So if you wanted to have like, a larger volume, a larger emit volume, whoops, this one's 5, we'll do 5 on the X and Y axes. Okay, so now you can see the area that these butterflies are floating in is a lot larger. And that area surrounds the dummy here, okay? And, all sorts of other stuff. There's butterfly types, flux, and all this other stuff that you can kind of explore in your own time, right? Flux just kind of increases the number of butterflies. So you can have a meadow infested with butterflies. I'm Not sure if that phrase has ever been used, but there you go. Okay, simple enough. I just wanted to kind of show you how you can, throw a couple things in there. All I did, added a plane, added some flowers and some grass and some trees. Pumped in some HDR. If you go to your visual tab, HDR effect here. You can use, any type of scale you want for your glare and your bloom scale. Increase or decrease that, to whatever values you want. Okay, it's just a fun way to mess around, create a dreamy-like effect. Very easy way to do that. Okay, that's the easiest project I'm going to show you. Now, the next one is pretty cool. When I first started using PopcornFX, I thought this was one of the coolest ones. So we're going to go over to the Content tab, Custom tab. These are the custom projects as well. I can send you any of these projects if you like. So let's go ahead and use this one. This is one that was done from by a coworker of mine. And it uses these leaves that you can find. This one's, I have kind of a different project, and I'll show you that one later. But I kind of like his, so I'm going to just show his project first. It takes a little bit, it's a little bit more flashy than mine. Well, I want to say a little bit more flashy, but it looks cooler. And so here you go. We just have this scene right here. The camera is set, and we have a nice road of some trees. And just play back. You can see there's leaves, and those big Humvees are kind of just running right through the leaves here. All right, just like that. All right, I'm going to start with my project now. I'm going to switch over to my project really quick. Mine's more of like a silhouette type look. It's a little bit less resource heavy than the other one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on, because I don't want to mess around with the lighting too much, I'm going to turn on this auxiliary light right here. And that just makes your scene all bright like this. And I'm going to change to my preview camera. And you can see in this scene, actually let's go back to the, give you a preview first, okay? So this is my scene right here. So we have the sun coming from that area over there. And the car blowing the trees or leaves around. You can see there's also leaves falling from the trees over there, if you pay close attention in the silhouette there. All right, so there's a few things we've done in this one, and it's a really easy project to put together, and I'll kind of show you how I did that from scratch here. So let's go to our scene manager. I'm going to remove the leaves particles here. All right, and prop, plants, and trees. You can see all the stuff that we have in this project right here. Good enough. If we play back, you can see nothing's happening until the car comes through. And all right, good. Oops, we need to also go into the rusty car there, and we have these dummies that we need to delete. I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, so this is all of our project right here. So we just have this car animated moving across our scene like this. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go to our content manager here, and again to the library 40 nature folder, and we're just going to throw some leaves on the ground here. Okay, so just these flow move leaves. All right, I'm just going to use the default settings for all this. I'm not going to go too much into detail about this one because it's super simple, really. Shift S to simulate, and you can move around. You can see here's a bunch of leaves just on the ground. You can move it around if you want, like this, but you need to re-simulate every time you move it around. Okay. Global scale. The area range is very important. So the area that you want it to be, the leaves to be spread across. In this particular project, we're just focusing on the one area. Should not have moved my camera, darn it. All right. Well, anyways, I'll try and get the original camera position anyways. I think it was relatively about here. Okay, so just shift estimate. Okay, so we have a bunch of leaves on the ground. Good enough. Nothing too extreme. Now, make sure that your dummy is above the ground there. Oops, let's just actually re-add that to our scene here. Okay, you want to make sure that it's like 0 on the z-axis. Okay, so right here you want to make sure it's 0 on the z-axis. Otherwise, you can get kind of weird flux things happening, like I just showed you there. If you want them to be like just land flat on the ground, make sure your z is at 0. Okay, good. So let's add the move flow dummy in here as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift S to simulate, and you can see with this dummy selected, we can select the dummy and we can move it around in real time here, and we can create a path for ourselves with the leaves. You can, draw a happy face or whatever you want. So move this dummy around, and the speed matters too. Okay, so basically this other dummy moves the leaves around. Pretty cool stuff. All right. Now the thing we need to do here is we need to attach this dummy to the front of our car. Whoops, what happened there? Oh, I need to go back into preview camera here. I think my car accident. Oh, where did I move everything? Okay, I think I might have accidentally moved something that I didn't want to. All right, anyways, okay, we're good to go. I'm going to take this dummy here, and what we need to do is we need to go to the PopcornFX tab here, and we're going to just go ahead and attach it. So use the W hotkey and move it over here. And whoops, this is the leaf one. Make sure you get the right one. There you go. And yeah, hold on one sec here. My screen popped around for a minute there. Okay, here's a flow dummy. All right, so what you want to do is you have the emit on and everything. So just basically attach this dummy to the front of your car. So let's go ahead and do that. Just throw it right here. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Just right click it and select attach, and attach to your car. And then what's going to happen is if I play back, we'll see it'll go through the scene like that. All right, but it just goes in like one small little line there. So what we need to do is let's go ahead and press the R hotkey. Whoops, not R hotkey rather. Let's detach it rather first from the scene here. And Shift S to simulate. And right here, you need to increase these levels right here. And that'll kind of just make the leaves go even further like that. So if you wanted to have like, really extreme displacement of the leaves, then you can change these values to something a lot higher. If you want to just be right, very small displacement of the leaves, change these ones to, 0, and they don't really move at all. So you just basically have to have a kind of a certain level for the move direction, okay? And if we, let's pump that up here a little bit. Okay, so now you can see them moving like that. And if we Shift S to, oops, I just saved there, crap. If I Shift S to end the simulation, and I go over here to emit off, you can turn it off or you can turn it on there. And what you want to do here is link it again to your attached to the car here. And we are good to go. All right, I just kind of saved over my project, which is unfortunate, but that's what happens when you press Control S there. Okay, and so that's how you can, basically, I'm going to go load that other project in there again. This cut final here, because I accidentally saved over this other project. And once this one loads in, I'll kind of show you deconstruct the dummy a little bit more. After this one, we're going to have a really cool project that has that uses rain. Okay, so this one here is the leaf dummy. Let's change to our preview camera, and you can see all these Humvees have this thing on the front of it here, and you can see the move direction for these ones are all very high. Okay, if you go to the scene manager here, you can see the flow move dummy all connected to each Humvee right down here. Okay, good stuff. So that's basically it for this one. And if we select any of these dummies here, you can see all the property values right here. Okay, nothing too extreme. Good stuff. All right, so that's just kind of deconstructing it for this project here as well. There you go. Cool. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to load in the rain project here, which I think this one is kind of the coolest one, so I like to load this one in real quick. Now this project, the house project, if you're an iClone 6 user, this house project was included with iClone 6. I don't believe it's with iClone 7, unfortunately, but This is kind of a little project that I created with a dude walking through it. And we're only going to be using one effect here, and this is the rain effect. So what I'm going to do is, let's just go ahead and play this back to see the result. So you can see the rain is falling, and the raindrops are causing ripples on the ground there. Okay, so basically the floor is like covered in water, and those ripples are, or the raindrops are causing ripples on the ground there. If we go to our first camera here, we play back, you can see we have the guy walking through the water, and his feet are kind of splashing water like this. You can't see the raindrops as much in this one, but it's kind of just a cool dramatic scene that I created. So let's go ahead and start this one from scratch as well. I'm going to go to the particles here and select those two values right there, those two items, and just go ahead and delete them for now. The flick water and the rain. And we're going to go to our content manager here. Let's go back to our preview camera. Now, one thing that you may not be able to notice about this scene is if we go into the scene manager here, we have a plane on the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and select the plane. You can see right here, and just kind of move it out. You can see it's basically just a semi-transparent plane on the ground. Okay, if we move it up like this. Now this is important because we need this plane in order to create the ripple effects from the rain. So if I go ahead and delete this one, let's go ahead and create a new plane. So let's go ahead and create a surface and plane like this. And then you can see it on the ground right there. Okay, so this is important. Without this plane, we wouldn't have the ripple effect. So I'm going to press the R hotkey just to scale it down a little bit and move it into the focal area of our scene, wherever your camera is. Okay, and so this, what represents the water on the ground, all right, for now. So what you want to do is just go down to your materials and change the opacity down to like a lower value, something like this, so you can barely see it. If you want, you can add reflection on, like a reflection channel on there as well, if you changed the shader type. But we're just going to go ahead and keep this the way it is, just like this, semi-transparent. You can use the reflection one right here. Okay, so if we select reflection, increase our opacity, you can see that we're reflecting the windows and everything like that. Okay, off the ground. You can decrease the reflection, just like that. Okay, so however much reflection you want, I'll just max it out, whatever, and take the opacity down a little bit. So that kind of looks like we have, water right there on the ground. All right, cool. So the next thing we need to do is add in that rain effect. So let's go ahead and do that. So go to our content tab, set over here, and the rain. We're just going to bring the rain dummy right into the middle of our scene there. And let's Shift S to simulate. Okay, so what's going to happen is we get this rain falling. Okay, you can kind of barely see it, but let's go ahead and increase the global scale a little bit. And you can increase the rain size maybe. And let's do zone scale here. There you go. Okay, so hopefully you can see the rain. I know it's going by pretty fast for this webinar here, but hopefully you can see that. And you increase the opacity here, maybe it's a bit better for you. Okay, but hopefully you can see the drops of rain kind of falling around there, and we'll increase the rain size maybe. There you go. Hopefully that's a little better for you there. Okay, so if we look at the ground here, we're not really seeing any ripples on the ground, and that's because we need to go ahead and select it, the plane. Make sure you press the Q hotkey and select the plane here, right here, and go over to Activate Physics, right, in the Physics tab. And we want to make sure that we use a static mesh here, right? And then if we play back for the rain, whoops, take a look now at the ground. You can see the ripples showing up on the ground. Let's just maybe use this auxiliary light here. Oh, yeah, it's not helping at all. Hopefully you can see the ripples on the ground here, like there, for example. Okay. So if you add this physics effect, then it creates a ripple and a kind of a the water kind of splashes back every time the rain hits the ground there. Okay, so that's a pretty cool effect, and you can have heavier rain if you want. Again, if you wanted to if you want to take a look at how to use all these things, all these items, again, you can go to your the chat window there, and that PDF, like I mentioned before. And this rain one should be on the PDF. I believe down here under nature. So there's the rain right here. So raindrops will generate ripples and splashes when they strike the collision-enabled grounds. That means you have to have the physics on the ground. And of course, the raindrop textures can be replaced. Okay. And for the leaf one that we just mentioned here as well, the flow move. Okay, so particle effects must be adjusted in tandem to create the proper visual result. Okay. So basically, you move the emitter around to push the leaves around, yada yada. And you can kind of explore that on your own time there. Okay, but let's go ahead and add some flick water onto our character's shoes. So with the flick water, it's a bit more complex. You have to kind of just use this one right here, but you have to have an object that you attach the flick water item to. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of, whoops, holy smokes. We're going to create a couple of kind of props here. So I'm just going to go up to create, and let's go to create primitive shape. It doesn't really matter what you create. I'm just going to create a couple of boxes here, and I'm going to scale them down to attach to my character's feet here. And this can be used for stuff like car wheels as well. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that down there a little bit. Okay. And don't worry, we're going to make these invisible in just a moment here. But the important thing is that we attach it to our character's feet. So right click and attach to the character's feet. There we go. And go over here to your attributes. And you want to make sure you attach it to the feet, not the leg, which I selected. So just click this ellipses here and go down to the right foot. And just inherit, move, rotate, scale. Make sure you have that selected. Okay. And then we can control click. Or I guess we can't do that right now. We detach it first. Just control click. Control click and drag will create an identical copy. Okay, and we'll rotate this one a little bit to the level of the foot there. There we go. Don't spend too much time on this. So attach this one to that foot. There you go. Selected the foot that time. And attach this one to this foot. Okay, selected the leg again. The right one's being tricky. All right, there we go. So what I want to do is load in a couple of flick water dummies here. It doesn't really matter where it is. Just go to your PopcornFX tab up here, and we want to choose for the sampler mesh up here. It's pretty simple stuff. Just select the sampler mesh and select that box. Okay, so it's box 2 in this case. And then if we play back, you can see every time the box moves forward, it's kind of, whoops. Let's get a better view of it from maybe over here. Every time that box moves forward, it's going to be flicking water forward. Okay, just like that. All right, pretty cool. Pretty simple and easy. And then you can just use the plus key and add another target, and you can add the other box there. So there's box 3 and box 2. And then if you play back, then both feet will shoot water off, okay? So what I'll do is I'll just make those boxes invisible. So there we go. All right, and then that's what it looks like when you're done. Okay, so just adding that nice little touch there. Okay, and we'll make this dummy invisible as well, and the rain. And of course, you can add stuff like fog and car dust and everything like that. One thing I forgot to mention in the previous example is adding the car dust. So the project, here's another different project that my good friend Shife has created. This one uses the splash water and the car dust for the car wheel. And after this one, we'll get to the crawling on the mesh, which I think a lot of people like, the insects and the cockroaches and stuff crawling on the mesh, which is super creepy looking. All right, hopefully this loads up a little bit faster. Hope it didn't freeze. I hope we're not frozen here. Not sure why it's loading so slowly. Yeah, the point of this project here is to kind of show you just how to use the splash and the car dust in combination here. All right, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. That took a while. Okay, so playback here. And this is kind of a different scene here. You can see we have that car dust and the cars and the splash as well. So what we've done here, this car kind of screeches to a halt. We've just thrown in that car dust and that car and the splash in the same project or in the same wheel here. So this one right here, if you go to our scene manager, you can see is the car dust, and this one is just smoke. So he's added some smoke there as well. Let's just go ahead and delete these and play back. Okay, so just a really quick screech like that. And if we go to the beginning here, so let's just throw on a couple of those effects. So go to our content tab and the flick water, and just right click, attach that to the wheel, and also throw on the car dust onto that wheel there as well. And let's move that to the correct direction there. Right click, attach it to the wheel. And for the car dust, if we simulate that, let's just disable the flick water one for now. So you can go to your scene manager and just select this button right here, or this icon here, to deactivate it. So the car dust, if we shift S to simulate that. Okay, this is just the car dust kind of shooting out. And you can adjust the amount here, the global scale. I think I'll turn this one down a little bit. Okay, and you can take down the opacity if you want to make it a little bit lighter. And speed, and you want to make sure that you select the correct part. Okay, so this one is like a right wheel. Okay, and if you want to rotate it, you can use the E hotkey and rotate it around. So it's like this. Okay, but we're coming to a halt, so we want it to, kind of come out from the front here. All right. So the first thing we want to do though is we want to make sure that at the very beginning of the scene, so let's play stop. We go to emit at the very top and select emit off. Okay, so you can turn effects on and off using the emit right here at certain points in your timeline. So where it's coming to a halt like this, let's just put emit on and shoot like that, and then after he stops, let's go off. All right, and the flick water will enable that now. Go back to our camera view right here, and here we go. So just like this, there you go. And maybe the flick water, we need to put that off at the same time. Oops. So there we go. All right, flick some water out and turn that flick water emit off. Right, there you go. All right, it's cooler if you have like a longer car ride or something like that, but just wanted to show you kind of like an emergency stop, how you can use those two effects in combination. Okay, cool. Now, the last nature one I want to talk about is the crawling on the mesh, which is this item right here, and I'll load a custom project for that as well. I just kind of created a simple project with this creepy looking dude. Made him in as creepy looking as possible using Character Creator. And there's a couple of restrictions, unfortunately, with the crawling on the mesh, and I'll talk about those in just a moment. So let's go ahead and play this back, first of all. You can see he's got this creepy look on his face, and cockroaches and ants kind of climbing around. All right, just like this, and yeah, pretty creepy looking. All right, so the way you can apply this, I'm just going to get rid of that light there. It's getting in the way, directional light. All right, so the way you can apply this, pretty simple stuff. Now, unfortunately, if I were to use the puppet tool on my character and use the facial puppet, for example, and let's try and preview this, for example. If I were to move his face around like this, let's go ahead and just record something actually really quick. Notice that it affects the distribution and the speed of all the insects climbing around on his face, okay? So if I go ahead and play that back, notice that when you move the mesh around, sometimes the bugs will be going into his face and stuff. So unfortunately with this, you're kind of restricted for movement with the crawl on the mesh. So it's mainly just used for static meshes, all right? Which is why I have the character, I have him smiling and kind of changing facial expressions, which is just slightly modifying the mesh. But the transform position, the change of the mesh, if you change the transform position, like his head is transforming, then you're going to be out of luck, and it's going to kind of mess around with that. So I'm going to just delete this clip there. Or, whoops, I shouldn't have. Need to go to down here. Come on, you. Okay, well, I guess we'll just delete that expression anyways. We'll give him a different expression. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I can just Control Z that a couple times, I guess, actually, to get rid of that recording. There we go. Okay, this is the original. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just, what you want to do is delete the crawl on mesh particle first. I'm going to go to the content tab under props, and let's use the crawl on mesh. Now it's important when you add this to your scene that you make sure that it's reset to 0, 0, 0, okay, for your transform position. If you have it in a different position, then it's going to mess around with your results, okay? I tried this in the previous webinar, and we couldn't figure out how to do it, but we finally figured it out after a little bit of trial and error. But what you want to do here is, just take your PopcornFX tab, and when you have mesh selected, just select, the character right here. All right. Now, unfortunately, you can't select a sub mesh. You can't select the face or the head, for example. You have to select the entire character. So CC standard, and then if we simulate it, Shift S, you'll see the cockroaches and ants slowly appearing on his face. They're crawling around on his hair too. Not sure if you can see that. But you can, of course, adjust the number of roaches, roach density, ant density, so we have more ants, and stuff like this. The roach scale, we can increase the roach scale, so make them a little bit larger, so I'm kind of going into his mouth and stuff, and the movement speed and the life and everything like that. So, all these, and the height offset, you have the height offset, they can be, further off the mesh, which you probably wouldn't want, okay? So just, keep my height offset at 0 there. All right, and that's pretty much it. There's not too much complicated in this particular effect, but there you go. And it really depends on your camera position here as well. Let's go ahead and maybe just re-add that because we had the wrong camera position there. All right, there you go. And increase the density of the roaches and the ants as well. All right, that's more like it. All right, cool. So pretty creepy stuff. And then if you play back, you can see when he moves, when his facial mesh moves, the ants kind of like collapse or whatever. So be aware of that as well. So you can see the ants are kind of just going in a pattern according to his facial mesh. So they'll climb on the very detailed topography of the facial mesh. So just be aware of that as well when you change the position. Okay. So next one up is we're going to do a quick wizard one, and then I'm going to go to the war scene, which is pretty cool as well. So let's go ahead and just load that project really quickly. This is just a super easy project. The wizard with the magical lightning bolt. And after that, we'll get to the guns and the VFX and stuff. The reason I'm kind of not focusing too much on the war zone is because we covered a lot of that in the previous webinar. So you can take a look at that that video that I just sent the link to for that webinar there. It goes into a bit more detail. And everything's loading really slow today. I'm not sure why. Apologies for that, guys. I need to close down my Google Chrome. But once we get to this wizard, I'll show you how to use some cool lightning bolt effects, and you can shoot lightning and you can hit stuff and have sparks fly off of different items in your scene and stuff. So yeah, I should have reset my computer or something. Yeah, it seems no matter the project, it has the same kind of loading problem. All right, anyways. All right, so here we go. This is the wizard right here with the aura and shooting lightning off into the sky. So we're going to do a couple things with this. I'm just going to change to my preview camera here. And let's focus on that wizard there. So a couple of cool things we can do here. Let's just delete the particle effects really quickly first. So we have this one right here, which is the blue aura. And this one's connected to the wizard's cloak. Okay, we'll just delete that for now. And then we have the right here. So the wand of the wizard has the column thunder. Okay. So what we can do here is let's add that blue aura first. So PopcornFX Library, add this magic blue aura. We can just throw that in there. And anything that you want to add a blue aura to, super easy to do. Just bring it into your scene, use the PopcornFX tab, and go ahead and pick the target and pick this gown, for example, here. Shift S to simulate. Boom, there we have a blue aura coming off of his gown. And you can change that aura to anything you want. You can add a blue aura to this Humvee if we want to have a magical Humvee. Let's just give that a shot really quick. There you go. All right, so there's our magical aura Humvee body. Obviously, it looks a little bit better on the wizard cloak, but yeah, just adding blue aura to anything you want. And you can go and you can change the color as well if you want. Just go ahead and try that. Change the end color to like a red, for example. All right, so you can have more like a purple effect. Let's change the beginning color to white, and there you go. I think that looks pretty cool right there. And you want to make sure that your emission flux, you can change that to make it more distortion or less distortion with a lower emission flux. Your smoke size, you can increase that. All right, so kind of have a cool like power up type of aura. All right, so that's that. Pretty simple stuff. The other one I wanted to show you here is the column thunder. So you can just throw that column thunder in and use the W hotkey to bring that up to the level of the stone, magical stone there in our wand. And we'll just right click and attach that to the wand right there. Okay, and then Shift S to simulate that. There you go. Shoots off a column of thunder, which is pretty cool. Now, with this one, you can mess around with a couple things as well, like the global scale. All right, kind of increases or decreases the overall size of the lightning there. You can change the flux. Okay, so higher flux will have like less of a power source at the bottom there. All right, and just you can experiment with these on your own time. I don't really want to go into too much detail about this, but yeah, so that's that. You can change the color and so on and so forth. I want to turn the emit off at first until he kind of uses his like that, and then turn it on. So then we have him just shooting off like that. And a cool thing about this as well, another cool effect here is the lightning attack, which I think is kind of cooler, to be honest. I think the lightning attack is cooler than the column thunder, because this one, it can basically hit different items in your scene with physics effects, much like the rain effect that I showed you earlier. So let's go ahead and attach this one as well to the wand. All right, and turn the emit off. And then when he shoots off like this, there we go. We'll turn it on. And did we turn it on? I believe we turned it on. Lightning attack. Yeah, it's on. Okay, so we need to actually have some stuff in the. Let's go ahead and Shift S to simulate it first here. Not sure what happened there. Okay, let's add some physics to a column. Let's create a column around this character here real quick. Let's make sure this is working properly. I'm just going to go ahead and, well, I don't know, let's just throw in one of these here. Let's create some big, crazy jewels around him, just for fun. All right. Some big, crazy, like Superman, like columns. And, all right, just like this. And Control, click and drag to get another one. All right, this should do the trick. All right, I'm just going to remove object animation from those because I realized too late that we're at frame 645. And what I want to do is just go ahead and activate physics for those. Use a static mesh and a bound type. I'm just going to choose self mesh. Okay, that's important. If you want your contact to be accurate. All right, so now you can see the lightning attack kind of shooting off and hitting the objects on the side. So let's go to this position here. And if we shift S to simulate our lightning attack, you can see it's hitting the items, like random bolts are kind of shooting out and hitting the two columns on either side of our wizard there. We can increase the power like that, increase the flux, you get more of them, okay? But I think it's pretty cool. You can see little sparks kind of flying off the staglamites or whatever they are, two extended gems there. All right, pretty cool stuff. So I think that lightning effect is pretty cool, personally. All right, so last but not least, we're going to get to the war scene here. We'll do this in about 5 minutes. We'll try, okay? So I'm going to go back to the project tab here, and I'm going to load in a slightly different war zone scene here. And actually, before we do that, let's get quickly into the VFX, because this is something that we didn't cover in the last webinar. I just want to show you one final video effect here. This one's pretty easy stuff, pretty simple. All I've done here is I need to turn up the volume for this one here. You can see I've added some music to my scene, and this one is using the music ball, which I think is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool effect. And we have Mr. Curve Editor dude just kind of dancing around like that, and I kind of black out the scene afterwards. Okay, so to deconstruct this scene, let's go back to Auxiliary Light here, and you can see we just have this dude, and if I go to my scene manager, very, very simple scene. I have that one simple music ball right here, and I have a dissolve mesh for something else, so let's delete that. So just the music ball right there. So we'll just go ahead and delete this, and all I have in my scene is this guy dancing around with some music. So what I'm going to do is bring in that music ball from the VFX tab there, or VFX library. So I'm going to go to Particles right here, and PopcornFX Library. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in this music ball. So if I press Shift S to simulate, what's going to happen? Let's zoom out a little bit first. And let's actually take off our auxiliary light. So if I press Shift S to simulate, you can see what's happening is because we have music in our scene, it's going to be kind of going to the beat of the music. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press F3, go into my timeline, and I believe I need to maybe sample the music already. So let's go ahead and maybe just start this again. So we already sampled the music. I'm not sure why it did that. So if we use a sound sampler, let's go ahead and retry this here. If we select sample scene sound, normally if I delete it and re-add it, it shouldn't have the sampled sound still there. Let's give this a shot here. Let me play back real quick. Okay, so I guess in this case you need to kind of restart. So let's kind of restart this project here. No worries. Better kind of show you how it works. So if I add the magic ball to any scene, really, and press Shift S to simulate, what you're going to have is this. You're just going to have a magic ball just like sitting there like this. There's no sound to sample it. So you can move this around if you want, anywhere you want, and you can create a magic ball here or there or whatnot. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to give this kind of like a sound, the project sound to sample. So it'll kind of emit according to the beat of your music. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and press F3 and go into the timeline. you can just go into your project tab here and go to the sound track. You can add the sound to any prop or anything in your scene as well. This is just the project sound, so I'm just going to go ahead and right-click that and import a sound. And I have to go to my library here. Let's go to my production resources and audio, and I have a trans clip. Okay, so this is just a little clip that I saved. Okay, so there's your trans clip. That's just the music. Now you can see obviously the music ball isn't really doing anything. So what we need to do is select the music ball and go to the PopcornFX tab and go to PopcornFX Sound Sampler and use this button here to sample the scene sound. You can also load an audio file in this as well, or you can just sample the scene sound. I'm just sampling the scene sound just to kind of show you how you can do it this way. You can load the audio file directly in there as well if you want. So what's going to happen now is you'll see that our music ball will be emitting according to the beat. Okay. So pretty cool stuff. Now, another thing you can do is you can just add any shape in it. What I did for the previous one here is I added a torus onto my scene just like this, and made it a little bit larger. It can be anywhere in the scene, doesn't really matter. And if you select your PopcornFX sampler right here, and you go down, you select the mesh right here, and right now it's a sphere. You can just use your picker tool and pick the torus. All right. And if we make that torus larger, then we can go ahead and take a look. If we simulate, Shift S, now the particles will be emitting from the torus there. You can make the torus itself invisible. Okay, so it'll be something like this then. And all I did was I made the torus kind of increase in height gradually over time like this. And something like that. So kind of had like a rising emission of torus light. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so quickly I'm going to go into the scene here, the war scene. I'm going to deconstruct it for you here because I don't think we have time to go into too much detail on it, but I'm going to deconstruct it real quick here for you. And if you have any questions, of course, I can answer those in the question Q&A session. Now this one has a couple of explosions, which I think are cool. Has like flaming buildings and machine gun fire and all sorts of other cool stuff. So if you're interested in that, I can talk about that stuff ad nauseum if you're interested. Let's go to our preview camera here. Now that one loaded pretty quickly. Interesting. All right. So what I've added here is this is a Humvee from my good friend Adolfo Navarro. He's a content pack. You can find it in the content store, the UN Special Forces or something like that. Yeah, this one here, UN Force Task Force Combo. I'll throw that in the chat window there as well. This is a really good one. I highly recommend this pack. And let's go to PopcornFX, or iClone rather here. And you can see I have physics enabled on this. If I go ahead and I play back my scene. Holy smokes, forgot the sound was so high. All right, take that down a little bit. Okay, so this has a machine gun that fires. It's like a special effect basically. And what I've done here, as you can see, there is bullet clips kind of coming off the machine gun right there and bouncing off the top of the Humvee there. So this is a combination of a couple effects. The shooting effect is in the particle effects right here under war and explosives. That is the firearm right here effect. So if I take this firearm right now, where is it here? There we go, and just delete it, you'll see that it'll shoot, but no bullets are coming out. So the firearm effect is really simple and easy to use. You just throw that in there, and you need to align it to where you want it to emit from. So it's very important, the positioning of this one. So we'll just place it right over the nozzle of the gun there, the barrel of the gun. whatever you want to call it. And if I Shift S to simulate, oh, we crashed. Fantastic. That's just what I needed. Okay. Anyways, that effect is pretty cool. You can trust me on that one. And it explains itself. It just shoots in a direction. All you got to do is use the E hotkey to rotate the dummy, and it'll shoot off in any direction. I think it's super cool, and the super essential part. If you're ever going to create any projects with fighting or kind of war stuff, then you definitely want to check that out. You definitely want to have that as part of your library. Okay, whatever. Let's load this up. And the coolest thing about that though is that when it hits the physics-enabled object, it creates bullet holes, which I think is one of the coolest features. So stuff like the rain, for example, when the rain falls on the ground and hits the water, is creating those ripples. If you have a physics-enabled object there, like the simulated water that I created, I think that kind of stuff is really cool. And I think it's one of the coolest features about PopcornFX is the ability to use physics objects in that way. Let's give it another shot here. Hopefully it won't crash on me this time. Okay, so you can see the bullets shooting off into the distance there. All I got to do is use the E hotkey to rotate it. And let's rotate it 90 degrees on the Z-axis there. So it's shooting directly into this wall there. And you can see there are bullet holes appearing in the wall, and debris falling from the bullet holes, which is pretty cool. And the way I did this is I just basically enabled this entire building with physics. So if I select this building here, go to physics, you can see activated physics and a static mesh, just like I had with the rain plane, okay, before the simulated water that I created. So that one's pretty cool and easy to use. And of course, you want to make it invisible if you can. And aside from that, we have the burning flame, which I think is really useful. Let's actually just create something really quick here using 3 quick samples. This scene, by the way, if you want to load up this scene on your own time, you can just go up to Stage, and under 3D Scene, under Medium Mesh right there, you'll find this flood one. And all you got to do is just delete the water or bring the water down. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to delete all these effects here for now, because we're going to start from scratch. I like this effect, there we go, Particles, PopcornFX Library. This fire trail, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to throw this fire trail in there. And if you Shift S to simulate this, you can use a W hotkey to move it around, and you can create like a trail of fire just like this, okay? Which is like, maybe a kerosene trail or something like that. Pretty cool stuff. Anyways, all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bring this trail of fire. Maybe for some reason somebody wanted to blow up this car. So let's go ahead and play back. Maybe frame 150 is fine. And we'll move the trail of fire right here. So then if we play back, love a trail of fire. You can imagine somebody lighting a match right there. You can move it faster if you want, but what I'll do is I'll just do that. And at this frame here, we're going to create an explosion. So I'll just throw in this blast right there. And what we want to do is at frame 1, we want to make sure that blast emit is off. And at the point where the fire hits right here, we'll have it explode. So on, boom, like that. And then you want to turn it off right afterwards. Otherwise, it'll explode again. Okay, so there you go. Trail of fire, boom, like that. And then you can, another cool thing you can do here is you can add the burning flame effect. So this is kind of just like, flaming debris. It's really good for flaming debris. Throw that onto your car right there. Of course, you need to sample the mesh as well. So sample mesh, and just select the, for some reason it's called sphere 476 there. And at frame 1, we don't want it to be emitting yet, so just go off. And this, then we can turn it on at this frame. And there you go. So you can see the flaming wreckage of this car. So ideally what you'd want to do is, maybe have this kind of car before, and then after the explosion, it turns into this kind of car, and maybe have some other kinds of debris like flying all over the place. There's a special effects pack that we have, and I can show you that later. And then you can throw in some smoke here as well. So just throw that in there, and we'll have it maybe at after the explosion. We'll have again emit off at this point. After the explosion, emit on, and this adds a nice effect having the smoke there combined with the flame fire. So again, I gotta turn that stupid gunfire off. It's really getting to me. All right, so again, really like basically 3 minutes. You combine all those effects together, and you can create a really cool explosion like that. And the torch fire here is another example. The torch fire is a bit more intense. There's also the flamethrower as well. The flamethrower is similar to the fire trail, except with the flamethrower, if you shift S, you can move this around, and it basically just shoots off like a flamethrower. And in the project that we're going to send you, this is the effect that we have included in the project from the big dinosaur, electronic or robotic dinosaur monster there. And you can, move this around and adjust all sorts of various values. Flame life, if you increase that, it'll go further out. Okay, so this is a really long flamethrower. Okay, so lots of a variety of different uses for that effect as well, which I think is really cool. I think that's about all the time I'm going to spend here on kind of demonstrating these things. Let's get to the Q&A session. So any questions you guys have, I'm free to answer. And it looks like we already have a bunch of questions already, so we'll get into that. Okay, so someone mentioned that there was a little bit of laggy video. Hopefully you guys didn't experience too much lag. We're looking to get with a new provider for our webinars in the future. So the webinars will be much improved. You'll be able to see my face, and you'll be able to kind of hear the system audio without having to hear it through my microphone. So we're going to be improving the webinar platform quite a bit from GoToWebinar, which is mainly used for office type conventions or meetings or stuff like that. Okay, so good question from Alan here. Can you create a moving star background like Star Trek in PopcornFX or Popcorn 40? Are we using the plugin? Yeah, definitely. We do have one cool effect. Where is this effect? I believe it's in. No, it's in the. There's a teleporter effect if you want to learn more about the teleporter effect, because talking about Star Trek. Speaking of Star Trek, I believe there's a effect in the samples under applications. This should be in the texture emitter maybe. There's a universe one here, Milky Way. Okay, here it is. So we'll just start a new project here. I think this Milky Way one's pretty cool. You just shift S to simulate. You can see it creates this sort of Milky Way type effect, almost like you're floating through space. Ideally, what you want to do for this one is Control, Shift, and P to open up your project settings, and then change your background color to pure black. Okay, since space isn't really gray, it'll probably look a lot better if we do this. Okay, so again, it's just super easy. Just import it in, click and drag it into your scene, and you get a really cool space effect like this. You can see a star just appearing like that. And when you pass certain things, it'll kind of create distortion fields as well, which is pretty cool. And all sorts of parameters you can mess around with over here as well. Emit Volume and all sorts of other cool stuff. I won't explain too much about that right now. So this one's kind of cool. And in addition to that, what you can do is maybe create like a laser light right here, a laser flight rather. And this one, you can change the position of it. See, like this. Maybe rotate it slightly like this way. This is one way you could kind of have stars kind of shooting by. And you'd probably want to adjust the speed of these. Excuse me. We can maybe have a emit rate, higher emit rate, and coda. something like this. Let's increase that volume. Maybe there's a bit too many, something like that. And then you'd want to go into the texture probably and probably make those a little bit smaller. I believe we're using the additive right here. Okay, yeah. And align mode, face cam. Nope, you don't want to use that. You'll probably want to use velocity or face cam. Nope, velocity. All right, and you have something like this. And the sprite sheet, or rather the sprite atlas right here, you could probably change that to something a little bit better. Now, I know this isn't the PopcornFX 40 pack, but I've never tried to do that using one of these effects in the Popcorn 40. I did use that before, but I think, yeah, that might be your best bet for creating the kind of scene like that. You can also just use the super tool, the particle emitter, to create a very similar effect, okay? If I launch these in this sprite atlas in Photoshop, all it's doing is it's shooting like basically sprite atlases at us that look like this. You'll see in just a minute. If we have a black background, it'd be better. There you go. So it's just shooting these basically at us, and you can adjust the speed and the appearance of those. So it's kind of like shooting stars. And you can change the color, of course, as well. All right, so for that answers that question for you there, Alan. Let's go back to our other questions. So Brad asked a good question here. If we do not get the PopcornFX plugin for iClone, can we do all that you're showing? So the PopcornFX Library 40, now the advantage of the PopcornFX Library 40 is basically that it has custom created effects from PopcornFX, from the PopcornFX program itself. So you cannot really recreate these using the regular plugin stuff. There's a lot of other stuff that is done customized in PopcornFX. So this is the advantage that the Library 40 has over the other stuff in the library, is that stuff like, for example, the Firearm, for example, is the physics, especially the physics stuff where the rain and the firearm like hit the water or the wall and stuff. You can't really get that with the PopcornFX plugin. So this is stuff that's done custom in PopcornFX, the application. And stuff like the meteor explosion and the sound. For example, this meteor explosion one here has sound with it. If I just go ahead and throw that in there real quick, see this one. Let's make sure we have that volume up. There we go. Well, not sure why it's not sound. Anyways, I believe we did have, should have sound on that meteor explosion. And well, the blast, for example, is another good example here. And the blast, you can kind of hear the blast. Heard that one. Okay. The meteor used to have sound. I'm not sure what happened there. But yeah, stuff like that. I mean, you can obviously add that in iClone yourself as well, but stuff like the physics and the sound and stuff are included in these effects, and they're really difficult. They're actually impossible to recreate using the iClone super tools, but you can recreate them if you have PopcornFX, the application itself. So, I mean, the purpose of this Library 40 is just to really show you how you can quickly just throw stuff in. You don't have to customize it at all. You can just throw this effect into your scene and save a ton of time, whether you're doing previs or game design, or pitching some kind of project. Just throw it in there as an afterthought, as a added effect, and it'll add a lot to your scene there. Okay, let's go back to the questions here. All right, so Daniel, nice. Thanks for the comment there. Daniel really enjoys the PopcornFX effects here. Good question from Thomas. Is it possible to create a fishing line from a rod being thrown into the water? Yeah, that would be. You could do that with the ribbon emitter. I'm super sure you could do that with the ribbon emitter. That would be a bit. It would take a bit of troubleshooting probably. But the question from Thomas was creating like a line from a fishing rod or something like that. What I would suggest doing, I don't want to mess around and waste too much of your time here, but I think you would probably go ahead and use one of the super tools. Use the ribbon emitter is what I would try to use. So if I bring the ribbon emitter in, you can create long ribbons. Again, the issue with this one is that it won't really follow the physics. Yeah, so with the physics, because obviously you'd want to be moving it, you don't want to have the rod being cast. Yeah, that's that's kind of something that I'd probably have to think a little bit on. I'm not positive, but I'm sure you could achieve that, because I've seen some crazy stuff. I'm like, how did they create that? So I'm pretty sure I'd probably have to ask the team how they would go about making a fishing wire from the rope from the fishing rod. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe give me a couple of days and I can figure something out on my own time. But I don't want to kind of just troubleshoot here in front of you guys, just wasting your time. So unfortunately, maybe you can email me after maybe after a couple of days there, Thomas, and I'll see if I can get something for you there. All right, I think we don't have many questions here. Hopefully, I was a pretty clear demonstration for most people. Again, if you want any of these projects that I created for this webinar here, just give me a shout, kai@reallusion.com, and I'll send them right over for you. And unfortunately, I saved over my cars one, I believe. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's about it. I don't see any more questions, so it's probably a record for the shortest Q&A session of all time, which is pretty good, pretty cool. All right. So again, we're going to be sending out the recording of this video for you guys. So don't worry if you missed anything. And we'll get that to you probably in the next 24 hours here. And fill out that survey. Make sure you fill out the survey as well. You get the 10% discount from the content store. Really pick up the PopcornFX 40 pack. I think it's definitely worth your time. If you're serious about creating any projects in iClone at all, whether it be magical projects or Warzone projects, especially for the Warzone projects, that goes hand in hand with this task force combo that I'm showing you on the screen right here. A lot of projects out there, with this kind of theme. It's an essential. I'd really say it's an essential part of your library if you're going to do anything war related or explosion related. The magic stuff is really cool as well. You can just throw that in there and really enhance your scene, like I showed you at the beginning with the flash and the Supergirl kind of combo there. Kind of silly without the effect. So yeah, make sure you keep that in mind. Pick it up when you get a chance. You can get 10% off with the discount from the content store as well. Yeah, so I guess I'm going to just sign off here, guys. Thanks so much for attending. Hopefully you learned a lot. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. Had a couple of hiccups along the way, but yeah, any questions? We also have our forums as well at forum.reallusion.com. I'd recommend asking any questions you have there. We have a lot of people with seems like they have a lot more free time than I do to answer your questions for that kind of stuff, and they just are really happy to answer any questions from newbies or experienced users, whatever your level. And you can always email me as well. I do sometimes get on the forums, but I don't have a lot of free time to peruse the forums that often. But email me is probably the best way to get in touch with myself. All right, so I think we'll sign off. Again, thanks so much, everyone, for attending. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And to see you in future webinars and future tutorials.